wanna sing, but I can't speak. I'm paralyzed when you're next to me, running on dreams, 'cause I can't see how this could be reality. You're holding me close, but I don't know. Do I let you in? Do I let it show? All of my fears and all of these ghosts are the only thing.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Morning Coffee with your host, Rick Alexander. Happy hump day. I hope your weeks are off to a good start and you're digging all of the morning coffee messages. And also, not just so much that you'll listen to it, but also that you'll really take the time to reflect and figure out your own answers based on the work that we're doing here. Today, what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the power of small change. Now, obviously, that's something that a lot of people understand. The snowball effect, the compound effect is something that is talked about quite often. But I wanted to break it down a little bit differently and talk about how it can really affect our lives. Because, we tend to look around at the people around us, at our families, at our friends, and we think that it's easy to believe that we're predestined for a certain outcome. But if we want an alternative ending for our lives, I think that it's within reason, right? And it's certainly something that we can have, but it's something that isn't going to be attained by taking a look at the overall picture. I think in order to affect an alternate ending for our lives for something that we think we might be slated for, we have to make small changes over time. And I think that's the way that we really get an alternative ending for our lives. And when I say alternative ending, all I mean is whatever you think you're slated to, whatever you feel like you're slated to, it's probably bullshit. You probably could be whatever it is that you want to be, but you have to actually take the steps to get there. The problem is that sometimes we focus so much on the end, even if it's the end we don't want, that our efforts end up going in that direction. So when you run an ultra marathon, it's conventional wisdom among ultra runners that if you get like a little rock in your shoe or something, you address it right on the spot. You don't even take another step. See, in shorter races like a 5K, if you get a pebble in your shoe or develop a blister, you can get away with ignoring it. It can be easy to just push on, take the small rock out of your shoe when you finish. But in a marathon race or longer, that pebble will eventually cause a raw spot, which will slightly alter your stride. Now, over time, your joints will take more and more impact as they shift around trying to get you away from the pain spot. This compensation from one side to the other creates what's known as an energy leak. An energy leak is typically a joint or part of the body that is not articulating through movement exactly the way that it should, and it's causing a loss of inertia. So instead of efficiently moving forward, covering as much ground as possible with as little effort as possible, which is what you want your running to be, you begin to fight the forward progress. Not intentionally, but as a matter of circumstance. Over longer periods of time, that little pebble has caused an energy leak that will eventually manifest as hip and knee problems that could potentially plague you for the rest of your life. Now, our lives are much more akin to a marathon or an ultra than they are to a sprint. And so why aren't we consistently combing them for energy leaks? It's typically such an easy fix, but we have to take a moment to reflect. And if we don't, well, then it snowballs in the wrong direction. The snowball effect is seen everywhere, and it's to blame for much of humanity's devolved state. Just the other day, I found myself in a mad dash while trying to meet a tight timeline to make a connecting flight at the opposite end of the Chicago airport. Amidst my hurry, I had to bob and weave through the entire spectrum of Homo sapiens. It was hard not to take inventory of the obstacles I ran around and passed. After enough obstacles, I couldn't help but have the same startling thought. We humans are in a bad place. Many people are overweight, and when they walk, they tend to shift side to side just slightly less than they move forward. The result being a waddle that extensively elongates the amount of transit time it takes to get from point A to point B. When in need, they bring the waddle to a complete stop in order to eat the compost that is passed on as food at every corner. When we are vulnerable and hungry from long lines and extensive travel, they pump the smell into the air, essentially preying on us while we are disarmed. Now the cycle continues and we accept it all as normal. We raise another generation of waddlers as we repeat the same song and dance in many different arenas. We are starving on the way home from work, so we stop at Subway for a loaf of bread. with a side of deli meat. We do it so often that we barely notice the histamine response by our GI tract as we try to consume something that we definitely didn't evolve to consume. We find ourselves at fairs, on holidays, or in a place that is known for one specific food, and we feel like it would be depriving ourselves if we didn't eat it. Yet, I have to stop and wonder, what sort of life are we depriving ourselves of by not making simple decisions that would ultimately allow us to reach our full potential? A recently published study in the United Kingdom found that it is now more common to get cancer than it is to buy a home, graduate from college, or get married. Tracing this god-awful statistic back to one single thing is almost impossible, and so the trend continues. And what do we say? We tell ourselves that, well, everything causes cancer now. And so what's the use of skipping any single thing? But what if it is everything that causes cancer? What if it is everything that is causing obesity and obesity-related diseases? What if it is everything that is holding us back, making us broke, and forcing us to the grave early and without ever realizing the true potential of what we're capable of? My question is, what if you could change everything by deciding to change just a few things today? Where would you be if you structured your life in a way that won't allow any more energy leaks? Every day, we are just one choice away from creating an alternative ending for ourselves. By choosing soda water with lime over Bacardi and Sprite all night, you're changing your next morning for the better. Make that same decision over the course of a few years and you have considerably moved the needle in terms of your own health and wealth. The real magic resides in the compound effect that will occur over time from making one different decision today. Continuing on the above example, what can you do now with a Saturday that you will feel undoubtedly better? Create a side income, go to the gym. Well, then we have to ask ourselves, well, what about with 52 of those productive Saturdays? A year from now, how different will your life be? The reality is that we're all living for the weekend, and the irony is that it's what we do with our weekend that is ensuring that we never actually change anything. I personally made that exact decision for myself for just 10 months. In that time, I finally finished and published my first book that I'd been sitting on for 4 years. I ran a 205-mile ultramarathon, essentially doubling a run distance that I had had on my bucket list since I was 19. I grew the audience of this radio show by about 300% in that time, and I launched a nonprofit and raised about $15,000 for causes that meant something to me. This stuff works, and it's not complicated. The devil lies in the details, and he's standing at the end of the path that you laid with good intentions. What we don't focus on is the right now. We don't think about what we could do today, which, in my opinion, is a much less overwhelming way to go about creating a big lifestyle change. We don't think about the mindset and choice architecture involved with making a better move right now. And so we find ourselves in the same position now as we were in last year, our actions falling just shy of meeting our intentions. But just shy of meeting our intentions in the game of life might as well be miles when you project it out. So think about where you're heading, and if you don't particularly love that destination, find the simplest way to course correct. Where is the rock in your shoe? Where are the energy leaks? It can be easy to fall into the trap of believing that our future accomplishments and happiness will be developed based on the events and feelings that we have gone through in the past, but that just isn't true. Potential, after all, is having or showing the capacity to become or develop into something in the future. The ability to rewrite the future is a superpower that every single one of us possess if we are equipped with the right tools and the right mindset, and it always starts with the smallest thing that you can do right now. And so if we are capable of upward mobility, and the answer to creating that upward mobility is by small habit changes today, the question becomes, what are all of the areas that we can change now to create an alternate ending so that our family, that of most of society, and most importantly, that of the one in which we feel like we are already headed toward? Just because you're well-intentioned does not mean that you've gone all in. And thus, the distinction should be made between the two. Well-intentioned means very little and will produce very little in terms of results. And so the reason that I'm saying all of this is because we have all of these good intentions. We reward ourselves on Friday night because we worked hard. But that reward spills into Saturday morning, and then Saturday morning it becomes unproductive, and then we end up living for the weekends, and what we do on the weekends ensures that we always continue to live for the weekends. My real question for you, above all the questions that I've asked you in this episode, is where are your intentions leading you astray? I love you guys. Have a great Wednesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow on Lionheart Radio.
The stockyard it's my backyard, that's where I grew up. I drank my first beer, I cried my first tear on the corner of North and Main. Down the bricks of Exchange, I felt so strange. She reached out and gave me a kiss, and in the shadows of downtown I hung around to find me a gold buckle queen. Well, in the stockyard, it's my backyard, that's where I grew up. Well, if you're down in the chutes, twirling the loops, then Cadillac is probably a spot. And it's cowboy hats and cowboy cats as far as the eye can see. And I'll be coming back real soon to the Longhorn Saloon, so Alex can pour me a bill. And the stockyard, it's my backyard, that's where I grew up. You're on the chase, I know the place. William Roberts will surely suffice. And if you're not sure, just drink one more. She'll look better, I swear. 'Cause I was given birth in South Fort Worth, that's where I live and die. And the stockyard, it's my backyard, that's where I grew up. Sure where you are, well it could be PRs. I've been lost there myself. 2 steps from my pillow, the shutdown armadillo. I stopped off and bought one round. Well, and the stockyard, it's my